New today, the Trump administration struggling to shake the backlash caused by its refusal to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. A new report released by the Washington Post today says even though President Trump has survived many scandals, the Epstein story is posing a new test. And joining me now is our good friend Jonathan Alter, columnist, MSNBC contributor, and author of the Old Goats newsletter, which is a great one. You have followed Jonathan Trump's countless controversies from the earliest days of his presidency. You also sat in court and you watched as Trump was convicted of 34 felonies last year in his criminal New York trial. Nothing seems to stick to him or shake his base until now. How does this Epstein scandal differ from all the other ones that Trump has managed to sweep under the rug?
Well, first of all, it's important to understand that this isn't going to be fatal to him. It's highly unlikely he'll resign or be impeached, but it is going to be a festering wound for the rest of his presidency, a drip, drip, drip of stories. You know, when the suit against Rupert Murdoch goes through court, and the grand jury testimony about Jeffrey Epstein, all the various court decisions connected to that, and, you know, more pressure from his own base to release more information. All of this weakens Trump. He's already way down in recent polls. People are so intimidated by him that they can't even notice that in real time, he's kind of floundering politically, even though he's had these successes on Capitol Hill. So
hang on, Jonathan, he's not running again.
Right.
So what does it matter?
Well, it has a lot to do with what happens to J.D. Vance and other people who they have attached themselves to this guy. And the more he is discredited with his own base, the less reliable that base is. And I think it's a big problem for the 2026 midterms for the Republicans. They're already in polls from before this. They were already suffering from a huge enthusiasm gap. The Democrats are much more enthusiastic about the midterms. They have history going against them. And even though this isn't happening just before the election, there will be other Epstein revelations next fall in the weeks before the election. This story is not going away. The story of his death is becoming like the Kennedy assassination. You know, conspiracy theories out the wazoo forever. Well, there'll be new theories about the videotape in prison and everything. Decades from now, people will be arguing about it.
But look, you say it's not going to be fatal. He's not going to be impeached. So do you think the public just eventually kind of lets it go?
Well, there will be some moving on from it, and other big stories will come along, and there'll be periods. It'll be like Watergate, where there are periods of weeks or even months where very little happens, but then it'll come up again because it's now become a kind of perennial story. And the big problem is the fragmenting of the base. Now, obviously, a lot of people in the base are in what's called the Fifth Avenue crowd. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'd still like him. But there's a bunch of other people in the base who are pissed now. They thought that he was protecting them against the deep state, and now he's the deep state. He's preventing them from getting the information that he promised about Jeffrey Epstein. And they had originally thought, oh, it's going to be all this stuff about Bill Clinton, you know, and Bill Gates and all these other people we despise. It turns out they now realize, and, you know, all of their surrogates in the base realize, the MAGA crowd realizes, no, there's really damaging stuff about Donald Trump that's in the Epstein files. And they want those files, and they won't rest. It's a big issue for them. They care about these cultural issues. They're not going to just let it go, and they care a lot more about this than they do about Ukraine or almost anything else.